Hello and welcome to Excel Essentials. In this session we'll be covering the MROUND formula. Now the MROUND formula, it returns a number rounded to whatever desired multiple you want. So it differs from the round formula, the round up and round down formula, which I've covered in a previous session. And those formulas round to whatever digits you want, be it a whole number or to the first, second, third, fourth or fifth decimal point. So the MROUND differs in that it doesn't round to just, the first decimal point, the second decimal point, and so on. So the MROUND formula, as I'm going to type in here, has two parameters. It has the number field and the multiple field. Now the number is what we are going to round and the multiple field is how we want to round it. So to what multiple we want to round it. So if we want to round it to the nearest 2, for example, we can do it like this. So we're going to select our number and we're going to hit a comma and we're going to put in the number 2 as our multiple. And once we close the bracket and hit enter, we can see it then rounds all of these numbers to the nearest 2. Now as you see, we've got examples where it's already on a multiple of the 2 times table, and that's fine, it doesn't need to round it. But as we see, 57 rounds to 58. Now we can do the same with rounding it in multiples of 5. So instead of doing round, it's MROUND. We select our number and we're going to do it in multiples of 5s. So for this we should see numbers like 5, 10, 15 and 20. So we should only see it ending in 5s and 0s, and we can see that happening here. You can even round in multiples of 7s. So we're going to do the same as we did on the other 2 columns and just change it out for 7. And we can see multiples of 7. Now if we want to verify that, we can just do equals, copy or click on one of the cells and do divided by 7, and we see we get a whole number. So these are all multiples of 7. Now we want to say round it to the nearest multiple of 15. We can do that as well. Just change out the 7 for 15 and we now have it rounding. So 10 rounds to 15, 26 to 30, 57 to 60. This large value here, which I think is over 9 million, rounds up. So we can see it taking effect. And let's say we want to round it to the nearest 500. We can do that as well by switching out the number for the multiple to 500, and we can see that some of these values round to 0. Now if this was, say, 257, we see it rounds up to 500. Now there are some nuances also to this formula. So I'm going to use some different numbers to kind of show this. So if we do equals MROUND and we have the number 10 and we want to round it to the nearest number 3, we can see it rounds it to 9. So it works pretty normal here. Now it can also do it for negatives as well. So if we make this minus 10 and minus 3, we see it returns minus 9. So it rounds minus 10 to the nearest multiple of minus 3. It can also round decimals to multiples of decimals as well. So if we come back in here and I do 0.3 and I put 1.3 for example and hit enter, we see it rounds 1.3 to the nearest multiple of 0.3, which is 1.2. But if you do try to have one positive and one negative, this is where we see a little bit of a problem occur. So if we have the number 5 and the multiple negative 3, we get a hashtag num value. So this is an error, and this is because -2 or -3 in this scenario has a different sign to the numeric digit 5. If it was -5, then it would round to -6. Now, if I was to change it to -5 and 3, it doesn't match up. So it has to be two numbers of the same sign. So they have to be either both positive numbers or both negative numbers. It doesn't like having one positive, one negative. There is also this weird nuance that occurs with rounding decimals. So I'm going to provide two examples. So we're going to do MROUND, and our number is going to be 6.05, and we're going to round it to 0.1. Now if I hit enter, we see it rounds to 6. However, if I was to update this to 7.05, we see it rounds to 7.1. So this is just a weird issue to note that you may see. So with normal numbers, it should round, but with decimal values as a multiple argument, the rounding direction is undefined for those midpoint numbers. So you'll get those weird errors like this, which it's not ideal, but it's just something to note as well with that example of 6.05 compared to the 7.05 and 8.05 as we just tested. If you like this video, like, comment and subscribe. Otherwise, stay tuned for more Excel Essentials.